Hello, this video is on cultural icons of the 1920s, looking at art, music, and classic American authors. Our first individual is a 1920s artist. Her name is Georgia O'Keeffe. She is a painter, and some of her subjects, which she liked to paint, were enlarged flowers, the American Southwest, and skyscrapers. You can see some of her works. Here we have an example of an enlarged flower, an image of the Southwest, and also skyscrapers. She started out with the skyscrapers and then later traveled out to the Southwest and worked more with that type of subject. We have two classic American authors. The first is a guy named F. Scott Fitzgerald. His famous novel was called The Great Gatsby. It was a novel about the empty prosperity of the Jazz Age, where everyone was prosperous, but there was definitely something missing on the inside. Another classic American author was a guy named John Steinbeck. He wrote a novel called The Grapes of Wrath. Now, this novel is kind of the exact opposite of F. Scott Fitzgerald. This is portraying the strength of migrant workers in California during the Great Depression. In this case, he's looking at strength of character, whereas F. Scott Fitzgerald was looking at the absence thereof. We also have a number of musicians. The first is a guy named George Gershwin. He incorporated jazz into classical music. He has famous pieces such as A Rhapsody in Blue, An American in Paris, and Porgy and Bess. What I would encourage you to do at this point is to pause this video and go to YouTube and type this in your search, Rhapsody in Blue, space, Gershwin. And that will pull up a number of different videos, the first one of which seems to be pretty good. And you don't have to listen to all of it, but you should be able to hear there's sort of a classical flavor to it, but there's also a lighter jazzy feel to it as well. Next, there was Aaron Copland. He mixed classical and American folk music together. His pieces include Rodeo Hoedown and Fanfare for the Common Man. And once again, just like with Gershwin, I'm going to ask you to pause this video, go to YouTube, and do a search on Rodeo Hoedown Copland right here, and listen for a bit. This is a lot shorter piece. You could listen to the whole thing, and you'll notice that while once again it's got that classical feel, it's definitely much more folk. Whereas with Gershwin, you heard more of a light and airiness, a little bit more big orchestra type feeling. With Copland, you're going to feel more down to earth. You're going to actually feel the rodeo as it's going on. You can kind of hear the guys on the horses. So hopefully you'll pick up on the difference between the two and the more folksy side of Copland. Some of the other major individuals were famous aviators, such as the Wright brothers. Their accomplishment, they were the first to test the airplane successfully in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. And their accomplishment later led to other famous individuals who are aviators, such as Charles Lindbergh, who is known as Lucky Lindy. His accomplishments: he was the first person to fly solo, non-stop across the Atlantic Ocean from New York City to Paris, France, in his plane, the Spirit of St. Louis. Another famous aviator was Amelia Earhart. Her accomplishment was she was the first person to fly across the Pacific Ocean from Hawaii to California. Now that you've heard about some of these individuals, there's some compare and contrast that you should do. looking at similarities and differences. On the next page, you should see a T-chart to help you compare and contrast George Gershwin and Aaron Copland, and then John Steinbeck and F. Scott Fitzgerald. Be sure to include both similarities and differences.